It's time for the news on QTV. We take a look at stories making headlines. State House says that Zambia's voice on regional issues still remains valid even after President Edgar Lungu's handover of the chairmanship of the SADC organ on politics. A 68-year-old woman of Kawambo district in Wapla province has been found dead in a house after allegedly being raped and strangled to death by unknown people. And other news in detail. State House says that Zambia's voice on regional issues still remains valid even after President Edgar Lungu's handover over the chairmanship of the SADC organ on politics, defense and security operations. Presidential aide for Press Isaac Chipampe says for the fact that President Lungu remains head of state, he can still comment on international issues in his capacity as Republican president. Mr. Chipampe states that President Lungu can in fact voice his concerns through the new SADC chairperson or through the new SADC chairperson over politics, defense and security cooperations. He tells Q News that President Edgar Lungu is always concerned with what is happening in countries neighboring Zambia. Mr. Chipampe says that no one therefore stops the president from intervening or making comments about situations in neighboring countries.
No, it doesn't in any way because he's still president of the Republic of Zambia and he can comment on international issues in his capacity as president of the Republic of Zambia. But sometimes he can still voice his concerns through the new chairman of the Troika or even through the chairman of the SADC. So it doesn't reduce his voice in any way. He's always concerned about what is happening around us. Remember, whatever is happening in Congo, in Malawi, in Zimbabwe, to some extent affects us because you find if there's the stability in one country, you find people rushing into Zambia, isn't it? Yeah, so the president is always concerned about what is happening around us and no one stops him from intervening or making comments about situations in other countries. No,
And Mr. Chipampe has justified why President Edgar Lungu is being covered live on social media each time he attends a church on Sundays. Mr. Chipampe says that those covering President Edgar Lungu when he is at church are doing it for their media organizations and not for campaign purposes for his re-election. He says the head of state does not stop any media house from covering his church attendance as he is always on news whenever he is in public.
Because those people who are doing live, they are doing live for their organizations, isn't it? For their media organization. Is it the president who is telling them? Is it the president who is telling them to carry live? Unless it was on ZNBC, you can say that. Even you, if you want, you can do live, isn't it? The president is always news if he appears in public. So you can't stop people from covering him live. Even you guys, if you want, you can cover the president live. Because wherever the president is, there's news, isn't it? That's why journalists follow him. Because
President Edgar Lungu had earlier been accused of using Sunday prayer meetings as a means to campaign. Economic and Equity Party EEP leader Chilufya Tali was concerned that each time President Edgar Lungu attends a church meeting on Sunday, his turnout is covered live on social media. Mr. Tali wondered why President Lungu prefers to be covered live on such media platforms when he already knows that Zambia is a Christian nation. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Tali said he is of the view that if President Edgar Lungu wants to pray to God, he should do so without any media coverage. He is displeased that the president is politicizing worship of God by showing his Sunday church attendance on social media.
Every Sunday you watch President Edgar Lungu showing you live coverage on Facebook, him attending church. Why does he do that? Because he knows that Zambia is a Christian nation and I must show this. Come on, let's be serious. If you want to pray, pray. But don't start politicizing it. Edgar Lungu is politicizing, attending church by always putting it on Facebook so that people can see him. It's a campaign ploy because Zambia hoodwinked, Zambia being cheated that Zambia is a Christian nation. And you want a president who is a Christian. Where was he baptized, if I should ask? What should come first? Broadcasting on Facebook or telling us your spiritual history? I can tell you my spiritual history. What is Edgar Lungu's spiritual history? That is what people should be more concerned, not showing on Facebook.
A 68-year-old woman of Kawambo district in Wapla province has been found dead in her house in a bizarre circumstance. The woman is believed to have been raped before being strangled to death. Police spokesperson Esther Katongo says the police in Kawambo received a report on the 17th of August 2019 around 08 hours that one female had been found dead in her house. Ms. Katongo states that when the police rushed to the scene and upon physical inspection found blood on the body of the deceased and some fluid on her private parts. She says that the police established that she has been strangled and raped after noticing her loose neck and a male underwear besides her body. Ms. Katongo states that it also assumed that the deceased woman was dragged from the bedroom to the sitting room where she was raped. She says her body has since been deposited in Kawambwa District Hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem while investigations into the suspected murder has been instituted. United Party for National Development UPND President Hakainde Hichilema has repeated his advice to President Ed Kalungum to urgently declare the hunger situation in the country a national emergency. Mr. Hichilema thinks that Zambia needs international support to deal with the hunger situations. He says that no amount of self-denial by government will improve the situation unless international support is sought. Mr. Hichilema has also recommended that while it asks for international support, government should equally stop all exports of maize to neighboring countries. He has, however, urged the government to allow free movement of maize and meal meal from surplus to deficit areas within the country.
This is a national disaster, and no amount of self-denial by Mr. Edgar Lungu and his PF friends will improve the provision of food unless international support is officially sought for through the declaration of a national emergency as a result of the prevailing hunger situation. We recommend that Mr. Lungu and the PF effect the following remedial measures as a matter of urgency. 1. Declare hunger a national disaster as outlined above and ask for international support for food relief to avert loss of lives due to starvation. Number 2, seize all maize exports to neighboring countries and elsewhere until such a time that we have enough stocks in our reserves to guarantee food security for our people. Number 3, allow free movement of maize and meal from surplus to deficit areas within our country. This restriction that appear to favor certain business and political interests is inappropriate and immoral and must be lifted immediately. The PF should immediately implement the above measures in order to mitigate and lessen the hunger situation and the suffering of our people across the country.
All People's Congress Party APC leader Nasser Musoni has linked the increased price of meal in the country to policies being implemented by the government. Ms. Musoni is alleging that those in government are implementing short-changed and ad hoc policies. He suspects that such policies are only meant to make money at the expense of the majority who are now not able to afford to buy meal at the current price.
We blame government for the current high prices of meal. We told this government early this year, arguably, we put it to them that it was premature to lift the ban on the export of maize. At the time they argued, they said the country had sufficient strategic reserves to last this country for 3 years. But the rising cost of the meal clearly suggests that the reserves have depleted. And this is the danger when any government acts, crafts policy or directives for the sole purpose of serving the interest of friends and cronies. The ultimate victims are the ordinary men and women. Now, the rising costs of meal undoubtedly has consigned the majority of our people to massive starvation.
And a new Foundation Zambia NFZ President Fraser Malama has added his voice in lamenting on how the price of meal in the country has risen. Mr. Malama has observed that many Zambians do not have money to buy meal at the price at which the commodity is being sold. He has urged the government to come in and stabilize the price before the situation gets out of hand.
A bag of meal is going at 150, average 150, you know, and some families, they take 3-4 bags per month. So that means the cost of living is so high now in Zambia, very, very high. Government must do something about this. Government must come in and control the prices of meal. If not, maybe we go back to the system of subsidy, yeah, for this time when things are so bad. Government can subsidize just the price of meal to relieve the Zambian people, many people that are not working, so many people that are not working. I can give you an example of these cowboys. They depend on the little coins they collect from the streets. Some of them are married and they can't afford. Zambians will not live on a Pamela, back to Pamela every day.
The process to issue the national airline with an Air Operator Certificate (AOC) by the Civil Aviation Authority (CAA) has now reached phase 3. CAA Director General Gabriel Lessa says the national airline should now start doing document evaluation. Ms. Lessa has told QTV News in an interview that document evaluation, which is the longest phase, comes after the airline obtained an air service permit. He states that the issuance of the AOC to the national airline, which normally takes not less than 90 days, is now dependent on how responsive the airline will be to the procedure. Ms. Lessa says that the time that CAA inspectors will take to review and agree on said issues will also be a determinant. He notes that the authority has, however, been informed that the national airline, once operational, will have only 3 planes and will fly both locally and regionally.
Yes, we do know that the airline will start with initially 3 planes, and there will be 2 Bombardier Q400 and 1 737-800. Those are the aircraft types we've been made known that they'll start with. The route is up to the airline, but okay. Usually what the airline is trying to do is to develop the domestic passenger traffic when they get a good client base and the regional. So they usually would start with the domestic routes such as Ndola, Lusaka Ndola, Livingstone and Fowe and maybe others. But on the regional route, of course, there is Lusaka Johannesburg, there is Lusaka Harare, Lusaka Nairobi, and yeah, such and the like. Those are the indicated routes. I may have forgotten 1 or 2.
The Ministry of Higher Education, through the Higher Education Loans and Scholarships Board, has recovered 28 million kwacha from the student loan program between July 2017 and July 2018. Higher Education Loans and Scholarship Board Acting Communications Officer Jisola Kawanda says that the loans were recovered from beneficiaries whose loans have matured. Ms. Kawanda says that this is since the students left the University of Zambia UNZA and the Copperbelt University CBU, where they pursued various studies. She has told journalists in Northwestern Province that the only challenge the board is facing is collecting money from those former students who are working in the private sector. She says the board will not, however, relent at engaging them and ensure that they pay back the money.
We gave 194 students. The applicants were close to 200, but most of those were returning students, and others had completed school way before 2015, which we were considering. The disadvantage was there were non-school leavers. Yes, non-school leavers in the sense that they didn't complete school between 2015 and 2017, of which we were considering those that we needed to award the loans to. From Kuba, close to 5-point-something million. I'm not sure, but it was close to about 5 million. Yes. We gave.
Still in our local news, Minister of Mines Richard Musukwa has called on Zambians to take advantage of the artisanal mining licenses and take part in the growth of their country's mining industry. Minister Musukwa has told journalists in Northwestern Province that government is encouraging both international and local investors to venture in artisanal mining. He says that government wants Zambians to start their own mining operations where they have majority shareholding. Minister Musukwa notes that the Northwestern Province is one such place to do mining.
Mining continues to be Zambia's comparative advantage. While we envisage to diversify to other sectors such as agriculture, tourism, construction, and so on, mining will continue to be Zambia's comparative advantage. And what we are doing as a ministry ourselves is to diversify within the mining sector in terms of mineralization. For a long time, Zambia has just been known to be a copper country, but we are trying to ensure that we exploit other equally important minerals such as manganese, nickel, cobalt, gold, and so many other minerals which are able to contribute significantly to the economy of our country.
The Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, has warned smugglers that it is now equipped with sufficient technology to curb smuggling. ZRA Corporate Communications Manager Topsis Kalinda has revealed that 7 heavy-duty trucks carrying smuggled goods have been intercepted using drones in Kapirimposhi. Mrs. Kalinda adds that drones will be deployed in selected parts to counter smuggling. He further states that 20 trucks which dubiously entered the country using deferred VAT have been impounded.
As you are aware, our Inspectorate and Customs Enforcement team also intercepted 7 trucks in Kapirimposhi, and our test pilots were actually testing the drones, and during that operation they actually discovered that we had trucks that were hiding in the bush somewhere off the road in Kapirimposhi. So the teams immediately moved in to impound these trucks, and all of them were actually found carrying smuggled goods. We want to tell you that we now have the equipment, the technology, and other sophisticated equipment that we have empowered with our Inspectorate and Customs Enforcement team to ensure that we counter all smuggling activities.
Government has reassured the business community in the country that the issue of unfair competition will not arise once African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA has been ratified. Minister of Commerce Christopher Yaluma says the AfCFTA Commission is already dealing with the issue of unfair competition even before some member states ratify the treaty. Minister Yaluma tells QUTV News that the AfCFTA Commission has looked at the issue critically and will ensure that there is fair competition when the continental market is fully opened up. He says that the Zambian government on its part will make sure that it identifies local products that will be identified either as sensitive or non-sensitive when coming up with the tariff submission for AfCFTA.
Fair competition is being handled by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Commission, the consortium. They've been looking at this very, very, in depth to ensure that this won't take place across the market. But us, we're just going to ensure that we make sure we identify what are those products which will be classified as sensitive and non-sensitive, so that then we'll provide accordingly our tariff submission. That's what we are going to do. But otherwise, we are working as one voice, as one country, despite being the entire continent, to just facilitate and ensure that we get what we want to get. Each country is doing what it can to get a fair stand on this market.
Finally, in our news, Zitikule Consortium Executive Director Nicholas Piri has bemoaned the increasing levels of financial crimes in the country. Mr. Piri says that despite a number of women being in the news for financial crimes, the trend is a societal problem as opposed to it being a gender problem. He has observed that it has become a trend that some people are getting money in dishonest ways and that is slowly becoming acceptable in the country.
You also have to look at the broader spectrum of our society. Our society today has been structured in the way that those that gain money in less honest ways are the ones that are celebrated, right from politicians and even in people in business. And so it has become a trend now in society that people, regardless of the gender, are getting money which they have not worked for in a dishonest manner, and it is becoming acceptable. So I think the question really should not be why are women increasing in this, because historically in this country, men have been the ones looting public resources, looting banks, and so on and so forth. So I think that it's a society problem that we have as opposed to a gender problem. I think that is our take on that. You also have to look at the...
That's it from our news desk. It's bye-bye and God bless.